Hey guys, this is Snapshot. Me and Sarisa is going to be coming to you with a couple of 2 or 3 little small videos on different topics of winterizing your camper, covering up your camper, getting your camper prepared to go through the winter. We're also going to talk about a little bit about the people that we bought this from that we thought were real great. So today we're going to just do a little bit of preparation to get the camper ready to store for the winter. Okay, the first thing you're going to notice on the side of the camper or back here under the camper, you basically have 3 drain plugs. So as you get down here, you'll see, I don't know if you can see it, but there's 2 here. And then there's 1 between the tires. Hot water, your hot water tank, the cold and hot water, these plugs will drain your tank here. And the plane back there, the drain back there will drain your freshwater tank. So those are for the things that you want to do first. You want to make sure those are bleeded out. There's no water into them. Now, on your drain plugs, you might have a little screw that you can screw out. With this one, then we will replace the screws and just put little fittings on here to just open them right up. So you just turn them and just let the water bleed out. Both sides. There you go. You can leave those open. We already drained most of it before at our last campground, so you ain't gonna see much water come out of them. But you wanna make sure you get all the water out of them. Come over here, this up at the repress valve. Then if you open up that valve, you see the water starting to come out. And what we actually, you gotta make sure if your RV have electric and gas hot water tank. This one is electric and gas. So in order to make where you run off the electric, you have to hit this button. You got to make sure that button is off when you drain this tank, because if you ever light this tank with no water in it, you're going to burn out your settlement. That's what heats up the tank. So if you can see, it's draining all out. Tricky part back here is getting to the fresh water tank between the 2 tires, between, at least on my case, is between the 2 tires and the 2 axles. So you gotta try to squeeze back there to get it. And the same thing, I removed the nuts and stuff was removed, and they just have shut on, shut off valves. There you go. Show down there. See all that water that was still in the tank? That's all fresh water, so you can just let it just run right out onto the ground. And before you start adding antifreeze or anything, you want to make sure you bleed the system. So turn on in. You're going to open up a couple of the valves. While you're bleeding the thing outside, just open up the valves. And I don't know if you can hear it, but you hear the air pushing through the water. Same thing in the bathroom. Pushing through. And that'll help bleed your system. All right, one thing you notice if you check the internet, YouTube, people talk about different ways to winterize your unit. There's basically 2 different ways you can do it. One, you can use a fitting like this to blow air into your system. Basically, you will connect this to your air hose, connect it to the port where the city water comes in at, and you keep your air compressor low, 20 pounds. That's all you need, 15, 20 pounds, real low. And as you're pumping air into the system, you open up each one of your faucets. And what that will do, it will blow all the water out of your system. Now, some people will just stop right there. They'll go through every faucet, sink, toilet bowl, the freshwater tank. If you have a water hookup outside where you have the showers outside, they will go through each one of those, and as they blow pressure in, it will blow the lines dry. Now, some people will stop right then and there. And then some people will use the antifreeze to, same thing, as you bring it in through your lines. There's different ways to do that. All depends on what kind of unit you have. And you will have the pump the antifreeze, your water pump, to pump the antifreeze through different parts of your line. Same thing. You open up each individual line, you pump the antifreeze in, which I'll show you a little later. Pump the antifreeze in, the antifreeze will push through the line until you see it running out that particular line into the faucet. Then you cut that one off, then you do the hot water, then the cold water, then you will go through each line and do the same thing. You will run it through until the redness is coming out of the lines. Now, again, depends on what unit you have. There's different ways you have to cut off. Me personally, I bleed my hot water tank bone dry, and then I shut the valve, cutting the line off going to the hot water tank. Because if you don't do that, when you pump that antifreeze in, the first thing is going to fill up is that hot water tank. That's over 6 to 8 gallons, all depends on what size your hot water tank is. To me, that's wasted antifreeze and more money. So what I do, I bleed it dry, run air through it, make sure it's totally dry. I shut the valve off, leading to the hot water tank. That'll keep for the winter. And then what I do, I run the antifreeze. Me personally, I do both. I bleed the lines with the air, and then I add the antifreeze for extra protection. Same thing. Once I shut off that hot water tank, I run the antifreeze using the pump through the lines, and when that antifreeze start coming out of each line, I know I'm good. Now, by shutting off the tank, it only takes me maybe 1.5 to 2 gallons of antifreeze instead of 12, 14 gallons of antifreeze. So again, you got to make that decision on which will be better for you. Now, what you're going to have to do, you're going to have to find your pump inlay. I'm going to show you mine. What's happened to me is the people that we bought the unit from, the ones that had it before us, they cut a little panel in the side of the cabinet leading to the pump that pumps the water through. And I'll show you when I start doing mines, they actually had a line that reached right into the antifreeze and pump it through. If yours don't have the particular hookup, you can look on YouTube, but these are one of the things that you're gonna need. And this basically will shut off the water, shut on the water going to the tank, off from the tank. It would have a line that you can run to the pump until the bottom of the antifreeze that will suck it through. I'll show you a little bit about that, but all these different parts you can get right on Amazon. Okay, you can see now I'm starting to flush the system out with air. If you see it down here, I got it set to only 20 psi. Look over at the hose where the water tank water was coming out. You see it stop, but if you add a little air to it, you see it pushes the rest of the water out. You see now where it stopped. You know, pushed all the air through, pushed all the water out. Once that stopped, what you want to do is shut this off first. And then you can close up your valve. Now your water tank is done. It's been drained, pressurized, flushed all the water out. You're good to go. Now, like I told you, the people that had it before me basically made it a little easier to get to the water pump and the hot water tank. Basically, got to take out the bottom drawer, which can be a pain sometimes. Okay. If you see down here, this is where they cut into the cabinet to make it easier to get to the water pump. The great thing right there is the water pump. That's what you use when you are boondocking or whatever, and you're using your freshwater tank. That's what pumps it in. And I don't know if you can see it, but the first thing it pumps it to is to the hot water tank first. So by bypassing the hot water tank, it saves you on antifreeze. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut and bypass the water tank. If this is what it does, the pump goes through here, runs it down here, over here, runs into the hot water heater. So I have a shut-off valve right here. I'm turning the shut-off valve. Once I can get to it. Straight up and down. Now what that does, it shut off the water to be able to come to the water tank. Now when I showed you that piece earlier, some of the tanks that have two valves, that have one here, one up there, or if it's missing the turn-off valves like that, you can add that piece to it, and that way you can bypass the hot water tank. Now, since we've done that, if you go down here to the pump, it's another valve here. And when that valve is on right now, that takes it from the from the fresh tank to the pump to the rest of the hot water heater and the rest of the faucets and stuff. What I'm gonna do, if you see, this is an extra hose connected right here. And what this does, when I turn this valve here, straight up and down again, what that does, that bypasses the water coming from the freshwater tank if I had water in it. But by doing that, when I take this hose here, you'll see in a little bit, I'll put this into the antifreeze, cut on the pump, and this will suck the antifreeze through the rest of the pipes. Finish bleeding out the freshwater tank and stuff. You run the air in the same line, and you go to each one, and you open them up. So open up the cold water line. Is that open?
It's open.
Done. Go to the bathroom and open up the cold water. Close that one.
All right. Now
go to the bathroom, sink, and open up the cold water, and let me know when it's open.
Okay. It's open. Water came through. Now it's all right. All right, it's open.
Close that one.
It's closed.
Is it open?
Yeah.
Once you get all the lines and stuff, if you have an outside line of water, you still got to do it to that one too. Bleeds all the water out of the line here. Once you get finished that, you finish bleaching the system.
And you drained the hot water tank, and you put the air in the
Yes.
hot water tank already.
Come on. Now, like I told you, we done bled out the system. Now you take the antifreeze, and remember, down here at the pump, we're gonna bypass the fresh water tank. Turn this up. Take the hose, put it in the antifreeze. All the other lines are cut off, right? So hit the pump. Hit your water pump over there.
Water pump on.
Yes.
There we go.
Now go to your faucet. You turn the pump on as it sucks through. Cut the faucet on. So you get a red stream.
Same thing with the shower.
Shower. Cold. Oh, gotta add more. Once you got the sinks, you do the same thing. I had to change the bottle. I need a new bottle. Same thing, pumps on. You flush the toilet bowl. Pump is still on.
Pump is still on.
Flush the toilet bowl. What that did is took all the rest of the water out, ran the antifreeze through. So you get the antifreeze to all your lines inside. Now we only use a bottle and a half. If we wouldn't have shut off the hot water tank or bypass hot water tank, it'd have took 8 gallons just to fill up the hot water tank. When you get finished doing all your lines and stuff, you want to take a little antifreeze and pour down each drain. Don't need much. What that does is take care of your traps in your system.
pouring it in the shower trap too.
And don't forget we poured some down the toilet bowl, but you also want to put some in the toilet bowl itself.
Okay.
Now, this stuff will stain. So when you get finished, you need to wipe it down, your sink down. So you get your washcloth with some little water and just damp it and wipe the sink down. Because if you don't, you will have a nice little pink stain. And if you let it sit, it is hard to get out later. You do each sink, swipe them down, that's all. Just using clear hot water or warm water. If you want, whatever it takes. Now, don't forget, we have a shower head outside, so we got to run it through that line too. So come on, I want it to run through this line also.
He has his shower hooked up to it. All right. That was quick.
There you go.
Got wet?
Get wet. Now it's in all the lines. Now the main valves you can leave open, the ones that we had on the freshwater tank and hot water, you can leave those open or you can shut them. But now the thing is fully winterized. We done ran air through it to pump all the water out, and on top of that we ran the antifreeze through it. So she's good to go. And that's it. Now that'll save you a few $100s, because most people in a small RV like this, they'll charge you $200-300 just to winterize it. So if you get the time and patience, you can do it yourself. It'll take all of maybe an hour to do. You're gonna do it the night before. Open up your freshwater tank and drain all that water out, because that takes time. Thank you from Snapshot and Sunrisa.